All right. Cedric, do you have a microphone? Okay. All right. Gavel. Sorry about that. Sergeant Arns, please call our May 18th council meeting to order. Thank you very much. I would like to recognize our chaplain of the day, Pastor Donald Johnson of Oak Grove Missionary Baptist Church, who has been invited by Council Lady Logan, and will follow the prayer with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor, you're recognized.
Let me say good afternoon to everyone. Thank you so very much for the opportunity to give the invitation and serve as the chaplain today. Shall we pray? Gracious God, our Father, we thank you for all that you have done, all that you will do, and for what you're doing now. Thank you for this who has the vision for our city, who has progress, who will step ahead. But not only thank you for the vision, but thank you that the city council is the voice for our city, for the left out, the underprivileged, those that have. We thank you that they are the voice, those who in many cases can't speak for themselves. And then we thank you that they have the vision and they have the voice for us, that all of us will be, that we will as a city to rise and strive for those things that not only keep in your sight, beneficial for us. And then God, whatever for us, I pray for their own lives. I pray for those spouses. I pray for children. I pray for their individual lives, not just their city lives. Bless them. Give them wisdom. Continue to lead this awesome responsibility called City Council. This we ask, the only name that matters, the God up above. In that name we pray. Amen.
Councilman Warren, would you lead us Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Council Lady Logan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to thank Pastor Johnson for being with us today, being the chaplain today, as well as the great service that he leads in our district, in District 1 in the Cordova area, for the good work that he does and the ministry does and the service to the people. Thank you for always being willing to serve and being such a man of great faith and leadership. We appreciate you today. And I'd like to read this into your hearing. The City of Memphis, Tennessee, by the City Council, greetings be it hereby known that Pastor Donald Johnson, in recognition of a life of exemplary qualities, outstanding service to the city, meritorious involvement in humanitarian affairs, and demonstrated concern for governmental processes, has been appointed Chaplain of the Day of the Memphis City Council, and is hereby entitled to all of the honors, rights, privileges, and prerogatives appertaining to the office and to the display of this certificate given under the seal this 18th day of May 2021. Chairman Colvette Jr., Chairman, and Rhonda Logan, Memphis City Council, member of the council. I hereby so move.
Thank you very much. Can I go ahead and get a voice second? Properly moved and second. Any objection? Seeing none, it is unanimous. Pastor, thank you so much for praying us into finally getting back into our chambers.
Thank you. It's been my joy to do so. Glad to do it.
Yes, sir. Okay. Madam Comptroller, call the roll.
Councilmember Canelli. Here. Carlisle. Ford. Johnson. Jones. Logan.
Present.
Morgan. Robinson. Smiley. Vice Chairwoman Swearingen. Warren. Chairman Colvette.
Present.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Madam Comptroller. Okay, again, colleagues, just a general friendly reminder since we all been kind of racing. Make a motion, you need to use your screen. Second, use your screen. If you want to get in the queue, go ahead and hit that button that says request to speak, and I'll call on you in the appropriate order. Also, for everybody, I intend to go through our same night minutes, and then I'm going to go to the fire impasse. I believe that's item 39. Then we'll go through the rest of the agenda. That being said, Vice Chair Swearingen, have you read our previous meeting minutes?
I have read the minutes and find them to be in order, and I move for the adoption of the May 4th meeting minutes.
Much. Also, you need to hit the push button on the base. Been moved by Vice Chair Swearingen. Can I get a second? Seconded by Councilman Warren. Seeing no members of the queue, I assume you're ready to vote on our previous meeting minutes. Members, would you set the queue? There we go. Please cast your votes on previous meeting minutes.
Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Myron, yes. Bellinger, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Covette, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Welcome to the May 18th, 2021 regular meeting of the Memphis City Council. A notice of the meeting was placed on the City Council webpage regarding how the public may electronically access this meeting and/or recording of this meeting, and how to provide written comments concerning any agenda item or any other matter prior to the meeting. Public comments were to be submitted to the Memphis City Council 24 hours prior to today's meeting. Vice Chair Lady Swearingen will read those comments at the appropriate time. She will only read those comments that included the requisite information, which was the person's name and address. Incomplete comments or those received late will be sent to council records and placed in the file. Items to be held are items 5, 26, and 27, and they will all be held till July 6th. So it's 5, 26, and 27. That being done, Madam Comptroller, would you call our fiscal consent agenda?
Which consent is that? Fiscal, thank you. Item number 11 is a resolution to accept grant funds in the amount of $85,000 from Tennessee Department of Health for improvements at Davy Crockett Park. This resolution is sponsored by the Parks Division. There's a request for same night minutes. Item number 12 is a resolution to accept grant funds in the amount of $15,000 from Nike to support 2021 Community Center Summer Camps. This resolution is sponsored by Parks Division. There's a request for same night minutes. Item number 13 is a resolution seeking acceptance of a donation in the amount of $1,824 from 100 Club of Memphis. The donation will fund the purchase of 4 Black Hawk entry kits. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. There is a request for same night minutes. Item number 14 is a resolution seeking acceptance of a donation of obsolete communications equipment, estimated value of $5,000 from Tennessee Valley Regional Communications System, City of Chattanooga. This donation will be used to fund MPD operational activities. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. There's a request for same night minutes. Item number 15 is a resolution seeking acceptance of a donation in the amount of $5,000 from CSX Transportation. This donation will be used to fund MPD operational activities. This resolution is sponsored by Police Services. There's a request for same night minutes. Item number 16, resolution to accept and appropriate a donation in the amount of $10,000 from ADT to be used by Fire Services to purchase smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. This resolution is sponsored by Fire Services. There's a request for same night minutes. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our fiscal consent agenda items.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller. It's been moved by Council Lady Robinson, second by Councilman Canale. Councilman Canale is in the queue. You're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before we get to the consent agenda, I'd like to request same night minutes for item number 9.
I apologize, Councilman. That is same night minutes approved. We did that in executive, and I'll call the consent agenda next. Any further questions? Seeing nobody else in the queue, I assume you're ready to vote on our fiscal consent agenda. Please cast your vote.
Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Eastern Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Marion, yes. Warren, yes. Sherman Colbert, yes.
That item passes, and I apologize. Thank you, Councilman Canale. Madam Comptroller, please call our consent agenda.
We have item number 1, an ordinance amending the City of Memphis Code of Ordinances, Chapter 9, Health and Safety, Section 56, Garbage Collection and Disposal regarding landlords or property owners. Up for first reading, ordinance number 5788 is sponsored by Councilman Smiley and Chairman Colbert. Item number 2 is up for second reading. The ordinance number is 5785. It's sponsored by the Finance Division. Item number 3 is also up for second reading. The ordinance number is 5786, and it's sponsored by the Finance Division. Item number 4 is up for second reading. The ordinance number is 5787, and it is sponsored by the administration. Item number 6 is an ordinance approving a new historic overlay district. It's up for second reading. The case number is CTHD. The ordinance number 5783. Item number 7 is a resolution approving the final plat for Woodland Hills Phase 13, Plan Development 19-09. The contract number is CR-5369. Item number 8 is a resolution approving the engineering plans for Stonebriar Plan Development Phase 10. The contract number is CR-5370. Item number 9, where there's a request for same night minutes, is a resolution approving public improvement plans for Stratford Center. The contract number is CR-5371. Item number 10 is a resolution approving the engineering plans entitled Gardens of Graves Creek Subdivision Phase 3. The contract number is 5372. Mr. Chairman, that concludes our consent agenda items.
Thank you, Madam Comptroller. It's been moved by Councilman Carlisle, seconded by Council Lady Robinson. Seeing no members of the queue, I assume you're ready to vote on our consent agenda. Madam Comptroller, please prepare the screens.
Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Vice Chairwoman Flanagan, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colbert, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call item 40.
Item number 40 on our add-ons is a resolution opposing House Bill 580, Senate Bill 623 of the 112th session of the General Assembly. This resolution is sponsored by Councilman Jones, Councilwoman Easter Thomas, Councilman Smiley, Councilwoman Johnson, Councilwoman Logan, Councilman Warren, Councilman Canale, Chairman Covette, Councilman Ford, and Councilman Carlisle. There's a request for same night minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Comptroller. Councilman Carlisle. It's in personnel. Just please, don't worry about it. Just a second.
Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. Sorry, I'm looking at the Granicus is still saying we've got the fiscal consent agenda on.
Can we get that tightened up, please? We're on item 40.
In the meantime, Mr. Chairman, the committee met, recommends approval, and I so move.
Can you hit the button, please? Even though I'll probably clean it up. All right, it's been moved by, while they're cleaning up the screen, now, please remove it. It's been moved by Councilman Carlisle, seconded by Councilman Jones. I see Council Lady Robinson in the queue. You're recognized.
Yes, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor.
Done.
Robinson is not listed.
All right. I see no other members seeking recognition because my screen's already going to vote. Seeing none, I assume you're ready to vote on item 40. It's moved by Carlisle, seconded by Jones. Please cast your votes.
Council members, please cast your votes. Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan abstained. Robinson, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Call item 41, please.
Item number 41 is a resolution to transfer, allocate, and appropriate $800,000 in GEO bonds funds to Homes BNSF Approach Repair, project number PW04122, Council Districts 3 and 6, Super District 8. This resolution is sponsored by the Public Works Division. There's a request for same night minutes.
Thank you very much. Councilman Smiley.
Mr. Chair, committee may recommend approval. I so move.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councilman Smiley, seconded by Council Lady Robinson. I see no members in the queue. Please vote on item 41.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Please call item 42.
Item number 42 is a resolution allocating and appropriating up to $10 million in commercial paper proceeds to bridge the difference in timing between revenue donations, the city's potential funding gap, and to fund initial expenditures to facilitate onset of project construction contractor for the Lethwich Tennis Center. This resolution is sponsored by the administration. There's a request for same night minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Comptroller. Council Lady Logan, you're recognized.
Chair, yes, the committee met and recommended approval, and I so move.
Please do so electronically. It's been moved by Council Lady Logan, seconded by Council Lady Robinson. I see no members in the queue. Please cast your vote. Please set the screen. Cast your votes for item 42.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Vice Chairwoman Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Before we call item 43, just heads up, I'm going to item 39, fire impasse, after this because that should conclude our same night minutes items. Madam Comptroller, call item 43.
Item 43 is also up for same night minutes, an appointment. Housing and Community Development Director, Ashley Cash.
Thank you very much. Councilman Carlisle, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met, recommends approval, and I so move.
Been moved by Carlisle, seconded by Warren. Seeing no members in the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 43. Madam Comptroller, please prepare the screens.
Sir Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Vice Chairwoman Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colbert, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Congratulations, Ms. Cash. Okay, let's go to item 39. Before we call it, the way we do it is I'll pitch it to Councilman Canale. He'll lay out the ground rules, and then we'll go into the presentations, followed by council debate, followed by our vote. Clear? Madam Comptroller, call item 39.
Item number 39 is a resolution approving recommendation of the 2021 IAFF Impasse Committee pursuant to ordinance number 5639.
Thank you very much. Councilman Canale, you're recognized.
Chairman, can you hear me?
Can now.
All right. I'll read the rules first, then we'll go to the administration, then followed by fire union. Rules: the council shall act only as the final arbiter of the impasse between the city and the employee organization and may not negotiate with either the city of the organization, alter the total economic package of any party. All impasse votes by the full council must occur before the final vote on the third reading of the proposed fiscal year operating budget. Each party shall be permitted up to 15 minutes or longer at the discretion of the council per unit to present their position to full council before the final vote. An affirmative vote of a majority of the members of the full council shall determine if the total economic package submitted by the electing employee organization shall be made part of the budget ordinance by or at the full council meeting during which the proposed fiscal year operating budget is submitted on second reading or after second reading in a special meeting called by the council chairman before third reading. Mr. Chairman, I'll read the final recitation of the resolution. Now therefore be it resolved by the Memphis City Council that the recommendation of the 2021 IAFF Impasse Committee in favor of the IAFF bargaining unit is hereby approved, and that in accordance with Ordinance 5639, the last best offer of IAFF shall be added to the FY 2022 operating budget for consideration to be funded in the FY 2022 operating budget is finally approved by the council on third and final reading. Chief Smith, you may begin for us. You have 15 minutes. In your 15 minutes, you have time for one rebuttal. There will be no rebuttal after your 15 minutes is exhausted. You may proceed.
And before we do, real quick, Madam Comptroller, can we get a 15-minute clock up on the screen? Just make your life easier, Councilman Canale. Is that possible? Tell you what, we'll work out the kinks. You're recognized.
I got it, Chairman.
All right.
Thank you so much, Councilman Canale. Good afternoon, full council. My name is Alex Smith. I'm the Chief HR Officer for the City of Memphis. I'm here to present the city administration's position related to our total economic package with respect to the Fire Association. I understand that this is a very difficult decision today. And so what we want to do is lay out the facts related to what the city's position has been during this labor negotiation period in 2021, as well as what the fiscal impact will be in looking at the Fire Association's proposal. And today, as a council, you have to make a decision on what will be placed in the budget, not only this year, but because the Fire Association is asking for a multi-year agreement, you'll also be making a decision for next year as well. Next slide, please. So to give an overview of the background around the process, we go through a labor negotiation process. This is a historical process that many of you are aware of. We enter that process in March of this year. We go from March into the end of March, and then from there, we have the mayor present his overall budget, and in that budget, he presents the city's total economic package, which has been presented to you. We then last week had, going into the impasse process, the associations had the opportunity to declare impasse, and last week we actually went through the impasse committee process with 3 of your colleagues. And from there, we are now at the stage where we're presenting before the full council for you to determine with your final vote what will actually be placed in the budget. Next slide, please. As a council, your responsibility is to select the total economic package, and that is the economic package in whole. So today we're going to be discussing 2 main articles, and you don't get a chance by ordinance to be able to pick and choose which one you want. You actually have to decide, is it the Fire Association's package or is it the administration's package? The Fire Association, being an association, they're going to advocate for their total membership of 1,400 or so members. From an administration standpoint, we're going to be thinking about things from the 8,300 or the larger view as an organization. As a council, you have to decide between the 2 packages that you hear today, which one do you think is the most appropriate for the city? Next slide, please. So after the impasse committee last week, we were able, and I'm really actually proud to say this, we were able to sit down, the administration and with the Fire Association, and really work through several issues, and we were able to resolve 3 articles that we were at impasse with last week. And those 3 articles were related to union rights, sick leave, and vacation. I'm proud to say that we were able to come to an agreement and really work very hard, and Mr. Malone will say well into the evening, to come to a place of being able to resolve those issues. So today, we have 2 main articles to discuss before you, Article 35, which is related to wages, and Article 47, which is term of agreement. Next slide, please. And so at the end of the day, this comes down to pure financials, pure fiscal impact. So the city's total economic package is a 2% raise, and that was presented in the mayor's budget presentation as part of the mayor's budget. It was presented in the fire division's budget, and we estimate that fiscal impact related around $2.5 million. The Fire Association is asking for a 3-year MOU and 2 3% raises, one for 2021 and one for 2022, or from a fiscal year standpoint, one for fiscal year 22, one for fiscal year 2023. We estimate the impact for 2022 at $3.8 million, the fiscal impact for 2023 at $3.9 million, a total of $7.8 million of commitment that the council would be committed to in approving their request. And then there would be a wage opener in 2023 as a part of that 3-year MOU package. I will make sure to note that 6 out of the 7 associations agreed with the city, and we have been able to come to an agreement with the 1-year MOU and the current package that we have for them. Next slide, please. And so the 3 main questions that I would ask that you consider as you're making your decision today. Number 1, if you were to select and go with the total economic package with the Fire Association, how would you fund this? We're talking about $1.2 million for FY22, $3.9 million in FY23. We have certainly no clarity about what's going to happen next year, both good or bad. So making a commitment for next year certainly is something that is unprecedented, and it really bonds this council for a future increase that you don't necessarily have the identified funding source for. Are you comfortable with making a commitment to a multi-year wage increase? And then are you comfortable making a commitment to the Fire Association and not MPA or other associations? Next slide, please. And so when you ask yourself, particularly the third question, are we comfortable in making a commitment to the Fire Association that we're not necessarily willing to make with other associations? I do want to note that the Fire Bargaining Unit has more than just commissioned fire within its bargaining unit. It also has non-commissioned roles as well. So you, in saying yes to the Fire Association, are not saying just yes to firefighters, but you're saying yes to a number of different job titles that would also be getting the 3+3 as well. Next slide, please. Also, if you were to say to yourself, are we willing to make this commitment to fire versus others? Well, if you were looking to also provide a 3% to other organizations, if you were looking at MPA, of course, the fiscal impact of providing a 3% multi-year agreement to MPA and fire would have a much more of a significant financial impact to the tune of $17 million if you were looking at multi-year 3% for both organizations. And if you were looking for doing something across all city employees, 3% across the board for all city employees for full-time, $28 million. So we're talking about significant numbers to make that type of commitment, same type of commitment for other employees and other organizations. Next slide, please. And so to recap at the end, we understand that this is a tough decision. At the end of the day, it really boils down to understanding how will we fund this? Are we comfortable in making a commitment to a multi-year wage increase? Are we comfortable making a commitment to the Fire Association and not other employees? And if you were to approve the Fire Association, you would need to find an additional $1.2 million in FY22 and $3.9 million in FY23 to cover these raises. Thank you.
Does that conclude your presentation, Chief Smith?
Yes, sir.
You have 7 minutes remaining for rebuttal. Mr. Malone, you may proceed when you are ready, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the council. I'm a little shocked here. The city spent their time talking about the other units who chose not to come before you and bring their issues before this body. And I remember when this body asked me from coming before, and they made a mistake. Not that they chose not to come, they just made a mistake and they were shut out at the door. So we're talking about what about MPA and all these other units? They chose not to come, that's their choice. So I'm here to represent the firefighters and the firefighters only. I've been told to only represent those people in our bargaining unit, not the other staff, management, or whatever. I'll be glad to at any time they ask me. But when we get here, all of a sudden we have to consider everybody else. We were considering the 1,400 something in our unit. So why are we here? If you look on the first page where it talks about the history of our raise, if you look there, the firefighters out of 12 years have 8 zeros. One 4.6% reduction and one year of restoration. 8 zeros out of 12. If you'll go to the next page, you'll see part of the reason why that people are leaving this city. We only compared ourselves to the surrounding areas. Germantown, Collierville, Bartlett, Shelby County, Memphis, Arlington. We scratched Arlington because they only have just a small force. But the city says that it's hard to pay a livable salary because we have too many people. Well, Germantown has approximately 30,000 people to foot their bills, and they're making about 8% more than our firefighters in this city and doing 10% of the work. This is not something that I'm sitting here whining about. These are just hardcore facts. I heard Chief Smith say these are just the facts, and I agree. Just the facts. We've had several people quit since last Thursday up to today, I think 7 or 8. So if you go to the next page, if you look and I'm not going to bore you with all this, but if you look at the number of resignations we've had. So I know in one of them, we started looking where we started getting raises in 2016. So let's cut across to 2016, and there was 57 left that year. The next year, 46. The next year, 81. The next year, 52. And this figure here is as of April the 15th. So when you look at this, we ask why they're leaving Memphis. And it's simple. When you can go to a suburban area, do 10% of the work that we do here in the city, and make 8% more money with a better pension. Germantown is just getting ready to institute a defined benefit pension for the fire and police, a 2.75 multiplier that at age 50, 55, and 30 years, you can draw up to 84% of your salary. We have got to do something, ladies and gentlemen, to protect the people that we're training. Now, I hear about all these other units, and I'm not knocking anybody. But, you know, if you're going to hire a lawyer for the city, you're not going to train them and put them to work. If you're going to hire a mechanic, you're not going to train them and put them to work. If you're going to hire these other people, you're not going to train them and put them to work. If you're going to hire a firefighter, paramedic, you're going to train them over a 3.5-year period at the expense of the city and the taxpayers and put them to work. So when we get them and they put them to work for 3.5, 4 years, what do? We're a Class 1 fire department. Who comes looking? Forget all the big departments that are coming in here recruiting, because I get the calls because I know most of them. But what about in the surrounding area? The county's getting ready to hire 23 people. It's our understanding that they have 40 applications from our people. As it looks this year already, we've had 28 resign. Now, you're going to hear the city say there's other reasons that they retired. That is correct. There's multiple reasons. But out of the last 5, 3 went to fire departments. I followed them through there. We're following them where they're going to other fire departments. So when we look at this, let's look at our last offer on the last sheet. The city wants a 2% pay raise for 1 year. And then we want to come back and do this facade all over again. Now, the city says that they really worked hard to do that. Let me say this. I owe the city kudos on this. We did roll up our sleeves the past 2 or 3 days, and we worked on 2 articles and got them done as of 11 o'clock today. Why have we not done this all the time? There was one offer of 2% for 1 year. You cannot keep firefighters here by saying 1 year at a time, 1 year at a time. And some of you are concerned about a multi-year contract. If you remember, this same organization came up with a 4-year contract, except it had all zeros in it. So I submit to you today, the easiest thing to do is say no. Martin Luther King said, our lives to begin to end the day we are silent about the things that matter to the Memphis firefighters. These things matter. That the fact that Germantown, Collierville, Bartlett, all these people are making more than them. And they're working their butts off here to protect you and your family. When the virus hit in and things went south, who did they call? That was a Shelby County operation. They didn't call Shelby County firefighters that are making more than our firefighters. They called the Memphis firefighters. True, our great director, she orchestrated everything, but you know who put the shots in the arms? You know who stood out there at those tents? Those were Memphis firefighters, Memphis paramedics. They were supposed to put here to do. But that's what they do every single day. So I'm going to save a couple of things because I'm sure the city has some wisdom. But the city said that that we don't have any money. So if you look this year, I've been watching all the stuff's going on. We got $27 million from FY21. I understand $18 million of that is projected for other costs. So that's $9 million. You heard the chief say this year, she said 1.6, we figured it at 1.2. I'll defer to the 1.6. That's a little over a penny in this budget. I've sat and watched this council on the same night minutes come in and spend a penny, 2 pennies without batting an eye with no research. I'm not asking for anything that's not warranted. This administration has taken care of the police department 1 year. They have taken care of ASME 1 year. They have not taken care of the fire department any years. Anything that we got other than the last election, when the election was up, anything we got came from this body right here. It's been zeros, zeros, zeros from the administration. I feel like I'm standing up here begging. I feel like the guy standing out there by the expressway asking for dollars for people that need it. The firefighters here are not going to stay unless we pay them. Now, we're not silly. We don't have to pay them all at once. But we have to show them what their worth is. That's why the multi-year contract, the 3 years and the 3 years and a reopener. Why did we do a reopener? Because we know next year you're getting $84 million. The next year, that's the year we don't know what we're happening. We know we're getting $84 million and some change. We know the sales tax is up considerably. If you can't give the firefighters the deserved raise that they need and deserve and they've worked for, this year and next year, you will never be able to give it because it will be, oh, woe is me with this administration every single year that we come here. I have not been here 1 year where we've had any money, but we found money for the police, we found money for AFSCME, we found money for this. All I'm asking is 1% more, $1.2 million than what the city offered, because that's what they deserve. I'm asking for 3% to be on the books to stop this attrition out the door, because they know that they're going to leave something. And the third year, we'll take our chances probably with this administration. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will reserve my time if that's okay.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. You have 6 minutes, 11 seconds remaining. Chief Smith, you have 7 minutes remaining for rebuttal.
So I'll make a few brief comments and then I will ask Chief McGowan to provide some closing remarks as well. So I wanted to provide some data points I think is really important. So Mr. Malone brought up the issue around attrition for the fire department. And as I noted, the current attrition rate for the fire department, the resignation rate is at 3.4%. And when we look at the data in terms of who is leaving, on average, it's individuals with less than 5 years tenure. And the main driver in why people are leaving is related to not being able to achieve the EMT certifications necessary. And so for us, this is an issue around how do we provide more mentorship, support, education, and training to those who are starting out with the fire department as being an important driver in us being able to drive down that resignation rate. The second component is related to the overall component in terms of looking at the overall salary increases. So since 2016, the Fire Association has received 10% of increases since 2016. And when you go back to 2002, you see an average of 1.6%. So it's not fair to say that the firefighters have not received love from this administration or from this council, that we have not tried to do what we can to provide increases. We have done absolutely what we can when we can to be able to support them, where we can to be able to do what we can for them. Also, I think it's really important to note that it's also really important to note that while, yes, we do look at neighboring departments and we do understand that those neighboring departments are quite a bit smaller, we also recognize that our firefighters do make over $60,000 a year with an average salary of take-home pay around $81,000 a year. So we do have a number of different incentives, and when you look at the total rewards in terms of what they are able to achieve, we have continued to remain committed and continue to want to do more. And I'm now going to pass it to Chief McGowan to provide some additional comments.
Thank you, Chief Smith. Thank you, council members. Just a couple of closing comments just to make sure that everybody has the same information. I appreciate Mr. Malone's perspective on things, and I'll comment on just a few of those. I appreciate what Chief Smith said also. So there's absolutely no disputing how valuable our firefighters are to the city of Memphis. I've been working closely with them as we responded to the pandemic, as I have with our police officers, our solid waste employees, our personnel from the libraries and the community centers, our folks in our Parks Division who work so hard to make sure that no child missed a meal. So everybody has stepped up and everybody has responded in a way that was unexpected, unusual, and the city carried more than our fair share of the load for the response to the pandemic, and we were proud to do so. Serving the people is what we do. It's what we're called upon no matter what you are. You're an employee of the city of Memphis first, and then you're the chief operating officer or a Parks Division employee. You're an employee of the city of Memphis first, and you do what's asked. Chief talked to you about the fiscal impact. I'm not naive enough to think that, if we do one for one agency that we're not going to do for another. I'm not going to get into the specifics as Mr. Malone talked about, but quite frankly, if we pass a multi-year, there's going to be very little reason to have any kind of negotiations next year with anybody or to even have budget hearings next year. Because you saw the size of the impact of that if we choose to have parity with anybody else, if we chose to do that with police. Clearly, we would eat up any kind of increment that we have for next year. So the budget would be set for 22 and 23. Maybe that's a time saver, but I think it's important that we continue to prioritize on an annual basis. We've seen how important 1 year can be to this city. In 1 year, our lives changed. So it's important to keep some room for us to have discussions about how things change next year. Two last points. As a point of comparison, yes, someone asked this during the previous impasse hearing, what was the average raise annually? And I'll just go back the last 10 years, and firefighters have had, as you know, 1% over the last 10 years. And if you add this, if you approve today a 3% and a 3%, it will be 16% over 10 years. Whereas the general employee has received 4.5% in that same period of time. And while I do not dispute the value of our firefighters, 350% increase in pay compared to the other general employees seems a little disproportionate. The last thing I'll say is this. Chief Smith mentioned this. Yes, people do leave the employment of the city of Memphis. And we're losing too many police officers, too many firefighters, more than I would like. Mr. Malone asserted that when he was in the fire department, he received a raise every year, and no one ever left. And we were the pay leader. I'd just like to call out some numbers for you. 23, 21, 18, 20, 30, 25, 28, 48, 31. What are those numbers? They're the numbers of firefighters that left the fire department when we were the pay leader. When, if you believe Mr. Malone, that we did receive a raise each and every year. And so, yes, there is attrition even back when he was a firefighter. Don't forget what Chief Smith said. There is a real difference between why the numbers are the way they were then and where they are now. We changed the requirements. If you do not meet your EMT requirements and your full capability of being a full-service firefighter, you are asked to leave. And you have to do that in a very short period of time. So there is no arguing that we're losing firefighters and police officers at a rate that is too high. I would like to reward them for the work that they do. We believe that 2% is what we can do this year. And with that, I'll end my comments and I'll turn it back over to you all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chief McGowan. Mr. Malone, you have 6 minutes and 11 seconds. Can I get the timer back up, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chief McGowan gave some excellent figures, but I think he forgot the fact that Thomas Malone was here working, and he wasn't. And those figures he gave were retirements, not resignations. The numbers I'm speaking about today are resignations, not retirements. This does not include resignations. These are people that left for other places. And we talk about, well, we can't keep up with these other areas. Think about this. You're a firefighter in the city of Memphis, and you have a workload that's unconscionable around the country. And all you have to do is change the shirt or the badge on your shirt. You don't have to change your kid's school. You don't have to move out of your house. You can go to any of these surrounding locations, and you got the best of both worlds. You got the training from Memphis, which is the best in the country, or one of them, and they go over there and they get ranked, they get everything they want, they got an easier job, and we keep paying this $100,000 to $300,000 for everybody coming out these doors because we keep hiring. We can hire. We've got a good recruiting team, and the union is very strong with our IFF putting it out about Memphis. But they come in here to get trained. So when you look at this, the city says we can't afford this. When they gave the police a raise, they left the firefighters out. When they gave ASME a raise, they left the firefighters out. I'm not putting ourselves against these other units. I'm the only one standing here. I'm the only one begging for crumbs here. We're talking about 3%, 1% more than what they're asking. So, you know, let me read you something that I found the other day. Abraham Lincoln, way back when, he said, labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor and could never existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior capital and deserves much the higher consideration. You handle capital up here every month. I'm asking you to handle labor one time. 3-year contract with a reopener, 3% each year is not breaking the bank in the city of Memphis, especially when we know beyond any shadow of doubt, and we act like we're shocked that we don't know what we're going to have. We're going to get $84 million and some change next year from the federal government. You know why? Because the Congress, the Senate has approved it and the president signed it. There's no reneging on that without going back through the process. We're going to have $84 million. It's called prioritized spending in our world. It seems like the firefighters, we're talked about being so good. We're talked about appreciated. You know, try telling your wife that you're going to appreciate her, but you're never going to buy her anything. So the bottom line here is all I'm asking you to do is buy a little time for these firefighters. I'm asking you to give them a raise that will keep them here. It's a small raise. If you look at what Chief Smith said in one of her press releases, she said, we're offering a moderate raise of 2%. Couldn't agree more. I understand the city thinks they can do everything, but it's always funny when we get shut out at the door and we listen to the council doing other issues. There always seems to be money coming up. So trust me, we've had this routinely checked and checked and checked. There's money in this city right now. The CARES Act have taken care of a lot of expenses. Other things have taken care of a lot of expenses. And I'm not sitting here trying to put you on the spot. I hate to come before here and stand here like a fool and beg for the firefighters. But you know what? The chief was right. The firefighters do what they're told. If they tell them to do something, they do it. You know, but you know what bothers me is why is it always the firefighters to get told what to do? Why are these other entities around here that aren't here, that everybody appreciates, why are they not here asking for their raise? They got something that appeased them. I didn't see them sitting out there. So yes, I agree with the chief. We do what we're told. The firefighters do what we're told. And I'm asking you to pay them today for what they're doing what they were told. That's not part of their job. The city can take it on. That's all great and grander. But that's the county's job. But we did well with it. We got national recognition, and I'm asking you to reward these people. That's all I'm doing. I'm not asking them for 4 or 5%. I'm asking for 1 more % this year, and then next year give them a 3%, something they can stay home for. Thank you very much, and I appreciate your consideration, and I apologize for putting you in this position, but I have no choice when I get 0 after 0 after 0. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malone. Mr. Chairman, with that, we've concluded the rebuttal from both sides. I've moved it. Councilman Smiley has seconded it. It's now open for discussion and questions from council members. Councilman Jones is first in the queue. If you would please recognize him, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be the first, or I've been the first to espouse of how much of the budgetary increase over the past 12 years has gone to police and fire. That's about 80% of the increase of the city spending from about 12 years ago. 80% of that increase has gone to public safety, being police and fire. And I'll be the first to say that the city is not flush with cash. But one thing I will say, you cannot long-term plan based upon year by year decisions. And that's what this administration has done the entire 6 years that I've been on the council. Year by year planning. That's not negotiation. That's just saying, here's what we're going to do this year. Here's what we're going to do this year. And, you know, from my professional standpoint, that's just like a client saying to me, look, I want my money to grow long term. But all I'm going to do is put it in a 1-year CD every year. You're not going to get the expected outcome by making short-term decisions versus long-term planning. Now, I'm looking at our budget from previous years, and colleagues, the amount of our property tax that goes to the general fund. Now, this does not take into consideration the appraisals that have taken place, but the amount of money that goes to the general fund, which pays police, which pays fire, is less today than it was in 2008. Now, so we ask, if this happens, where does it come from? It comes from this. I don't know how many of us are surviving, and maybe some of us are, but are surviving off of what we made in 2008. You know, to say we can't afford to do this, we've heard that every year. And if we continue to plan based upon, we'll never be able to afford it. There's uncertainty is a fact of life. I don't care what it is that we do. But I don't think that we can go, we are not, I'm not married, never been married, but I would have to agree with Mr. Malone. You can't go to your spouse every year and say, you know what, I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it next year. I'm going to do it next year without some type of long-term commitment. I can only imagine somebody saying, baby, we're just going to be in this marriage for 1 year. We're going to have to renew after 1 year, see how things go after this year. So, colleagues, at some point, we're going to have to bite the bullet to show what our commitment is, not only to police and fire, to all of our employees. You know, this is, why should not the city, we've been, despite what's taken place with COVID, we've seen unprecedented levels in the reappraisals themselves. We would be derelict in our duties if we're not providing commensurate services that the people of Memphis deserve. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Carlisle.
Thank you, Councilman Carlisle. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can everybody hear me all right? Cool. Mr. Malone, I'm familiar with that Abraham Lincoln quote. It was in his first State of the Union, and he was talking about the relationship between labor and capital, but they're mutually related to each other. Without capital, you can't have labor, and without labor, you wouldn't have capital. And so we have to manage our capital to a point to where we still have it, because if we run out of it, then we can't pay labor, and labor will go elsewhere. So I understand and respect where you're coming from. Interesting quote. Total compensation. I know we typically talk about salaries, but Mr. Malone opened up the door here when he brought up pensions in Germantown. And so I don't think I've ever gotten a clear picture, because we always tend to stay in the salary world. But at the end of the day, when someone applies for a job, they're concerned about what their total compensation is. And I made a joke on the hip last week about how unbelievable our healthcare plan is for active duty employees. And so I'm curious to know, between vacation, bonus days, PTO, what the total compensation of some of these heavy hitter jobs looks like on a comparative basis.
So on average, when you add all of the incentives, and you have this in your presentation as well, we estimate that a member of IAFF receives around $81,000 a year. But when you look at the total compensation package, for example, on our healthcare plan, we're ranging on average around $11,000 of a city contribution per member for our contribution there. And as a part of that, it's not only paying the healthcare claims, but also the wellness dollars, the free clinic, the other generic prescription support and all the other things that we provide to our employees. In addition to that, having our student loan contribution program, having our tuition reimbursement program, having our other fitness facilities on site and things of that nature. We do seek to provide as much support as we can, and we know that because we're a larger agency, we are able to provide more to our employees than these other smaller agencies.
I mean, some of these, and I wish we had a more comparative. Again, for me, I'm talking about total comp, and even if you took out some of the fringe aspects, when you look at base package stuff like real cash value, your vacation, your PTO, and then our bonus day program on top of what our healthcare plan is, I wish we could get that information to make an apples-to-apples comparison. That being said, I do agree that our firefighters are due and entitled to an increase in their compensation. I certainly want to bring us more in line with some of where these competitors are on base salary. But it really rubs me that we always kind of skirt around, what our benefits plan looks like to, say, the city of Germantown's, because I'd be willing to bet ours is probably more robust and nicer. I have one question for Mr. Wade, because this may impact my decision. While the city of Memphis is a contracting authority, the city council is not. So we cannot be bound by a future budget item, if I remember that correctly, meaning even if we vote for a 3% increase today, we're not bound by that next year. Is that an accurate statement?
Am I on? Since we approved 5639, I don't think we've been presented with a multi-year contract. You do not contract. Basically, you serve as the judge to decide which side gets the MOU. Your decision is to decide on third reading whether to fund it or not. You are only considering in June the FY22 budget. You are not funding the FY23 budget. The sum of this decision today, if you agree with a multi-year contract, is that you will be agreeing that it will be added to the budget to be considered in FY23 for funding. And the reason for that is 7 of you may decide that you want to resign and run for county office or Congress or whatever you want to do, and we'll have 7 new people who never voted on this. So you can't bind those people in FY23. So basically, it'll go on the budget if you approve it in the budget on second reading next year, but you will have to decide at that point, considering the totality of the needs of the city, whether you will fund it or not. I can have a contract to supply widgets to the city on a 5-year, well, widgets, personal property is different. But if I had a multi-year contract, it's always subject to funding in the current budget. And if it isn't funded, you don't get paid. That's the nature of where you are today. You are only deciding whether it will be considered next year or not. But the only thing you will be voting on in June will be the FY22 budget and whether to fund that or not. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's...
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you very much. It's a tough spot to be in, I think, always when we end up in impasse. These firefighters, these men and women put their lives on the line for us, and they should be treated and respected as such. But we have had one of the most difficult, we talk about finding money, but the reality is, and I understand that argument has been heard here, but the reality is we are coming out of a pandemic. We got a ruling from the United States Treasury Department 8 days ago that is going to have a significant impact on our ability to use the American Rescue Plan to deal with revenue shortfalls and debt. And I'm not so sure that I'm sure our chief financial officer is going to come back to us very soon. And so I'm very very, very, very hesitant, even though we're not bound by it, to commit to the firefighters in a multi-year deal. Only because I'm incredibly concerned about what our financial outlook looks like until we have a clear understanding from the federal government and from the return to normalcy, tourism, sales tax, and those things on an ongoing basis, to commit to a multi-year agreement. So for me, if it's an up and down vote, today it's probably voting it down, but I want to amend it and figure something out and wrap up that probably does more, whether that's accepting the 2% and bonus pay or looking at 3%, which I would love to amend and work on now, but I don't think I'm allowed to do that by our ordinance. So that's where my head is at least right now. So I look forward to hearing from some of my colleagues. I appreciate it. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you, Councilman Carlisle. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Morgan.
Thank you. And before we recognize Councilman Morgan, colleagues, please try to keep the microphone as close to your mouth as possible so we can hear you. Councilman Morgan, you're recognized.
The same question of Mr. Wade, and it's been answered. And I wasn't going to bring this up until our budget hearings on Thursday, but it does appear that some of the guidance that we originally got from the federal government and from the state about how to spend the American Rescue Plan money is different than the guidance that we have been getting in the last week. And so there's certainly a fog over how we will be able to use that money for revenue replacements that will impact potentially next year. We're going to have some more discussions about that in the next week. I don't think it bears too much on this conversation. Others say Councilman Carlisle is right. There is more uncertainty today than I was feeling last week about our budget situation, the potential health of our unreserved, or I guess unrestricted reserve fund. I do have one line of questioning that goes towards recruiting and the EMT certifications. And it's honestly, it's kind of the tale of two stories, where Mr. Malone really passionately advocates about the resignations and the people that are failing certification and that are leaving the fire department. And then Director Sweat, when we're in committee or in budgets, we hear about how well things are going in terms of filling the complement. We have significant challenges in other divisions and departments that we don't see in fire, where we're actually over complement right now as we're going through the recruiting class. And once they graduate, we know it'll be pretty much in line with where we want to be. So I was just trying to get kind of an honest assessment of exactly where we are in recruiting. Director Sweat, if you can go into a little bit more about these EMT certifications and what the operational fallout is from that. So we see these numbers. We know some people are resigning, leaving early, not from retirements. We know some people are not meeting the grade, so to speak. Operationally, how does that impact the fire department on a day-to-day basis? I don't know if I know the answer to that. It's more clear in the police department. It's more clear in some of these other divisions. But how are y'all affected currently?
Yes, thank you, Councilman. So I will say that becoming an EMT IV, and an EMT paramedic, that is what is required of the firefighters once they come onto the department, and they have 4 years to do that. We do a good job of getting people hired and in the door, but it is very much a problem that we have people that are unable to meet that certification process at some point in that 4-year journey. So what happens is you get hire someone, you get the time it takes for us to get them on board, 4 months in the academy, they come out, they have that first year is their first hurdle to meet to get their EMT certification. We lose them at each hurdle along the way. Sometimes we put programs into place to try to help them be successful, but quite honestly, we have a large number of people who are not able to meet that curriculum requirement. And I can say I'm not looking at I know some of the data that I had looked at before, between 2016 and 2019, we did a study, and I think 40% of the people that left during that time was because of certification. So we had some classes that we were really struggling with. Chief Smith and I have had some conversations about how do we front load candidates who are better apt to pass the certification process. So we're looking at some ways to change our hiring process on the front end to make sure that they're more successful through the program.
Do we ever come across the problem where we have ambulances that are out of service because of a lack of personnel to fill them for a shift, or are we paying obscene amounts of overtime to make sure they are filled? Because your overtime budget has honestly been relatively low to what we would compare it to the police until this past year, and we had to pick it up because of COVID.
Yeah, so when we have a shortage of staffing, we have a factor of probably about 5.5 people to 4. An engine requires 4 people to be in service, and so we staff it with a complement of 6, and then that allows for vacation, injury leave, OGI leave, bereavement leave, any type of leave. So we have a built-in overage, but on a daily basis we are calling in overtime. It's not, so we are able to staff. When we don't have ambulances available, it's usually because they're busy at a hospital because they're all out on calls. It's not due to staffing. I will say during COVID, it has been more difficult to maintain that staffing because, some of those same firefighters have been exposed to COVID and had to be quarantined. A large number of our employees at one time or another, over 70% at one time or another, was in quarantine this past year. So we have struggled with staffing, but like I will agree with what Tommy said. When you ask them to come to work, they come to work and they get the job done.
Yeah. And so, colleagues, this is where I struggle personally on the issue back and forth. I love the fire department. They do an absolute delivering a critical service to the city of Memphis. But here they are, they're getting the job done. And we have other critical services in the city of Memphis where I feel like we're falling below par, that we're not quite meeting expectations. And, 2% isn't nothing. We have a number of employees that will be receiving 0% this year. And I think that 2% is a recognition. Just because somebody's delivering the services and they're excelling at the work they do, we don't want to kind of sit back and not reward or acknowledge that. So I think some of the 2%, part of the reason for the 2% is because of the great work the fire department is doing, especially in the last year or so as we've been dealing with COVID and the additional strain and stress that they've been under. And the additional 1% increase, the cost of that a little over $1 million. If we are having a problem with recruiting, which it doesn't seem like we are, I would almost rather spend that money in operation to hire full-time recruiters, put in another, a strategy in place to focus on police and fire recruiting rather than an additional 1% into salaries. I think that would be in a more effective way if that's the problem that we're trying to resolve, recruitment and retention. I think it could be better addressed in that regard, but the 2% is still important to acknowledge the work that they've done and to continue to support them. So this is a tough vote. My mind says no, my heart says yes. And I think I do want to hear from other colleagues in lines of questioning, but I think at the end of the day, I would have to vote with the administration's request on this and then continue to work on whatever we can do to support the fire department in morale and other fiscal areas, including, they're getting enormous, all our employees are getting pretty significant bonuses this year. But I'm just not sure about doing this. And I agree with Councilman Carl and Mr. Wade about not knowing what's going to happen in the future. I would probably prefer to do planning that way, but it doesn't work in terms of the legal apparatus for the city government to plan out these percentages in advance like that and commit other legislative bodies to those increases. So thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back.
Thank you, Councilman Morgan. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Smiley.
Councilman Smiley, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, thank you, Councilman Canali. First of all, I just want to acknowledge I like a good argument. So kudos to Chief Smith, Chief McGowan, and you too, Mr. Malone. And I think for me, it kind of boils down here. The city of Memphis, the goal of government is to promote the general welfare. And when you talk about the general welfare, you have to include public safety. So I'm gonna start my comments here. If you want LeBron James, you pay for LeBron James. We have the very best fire department. So what I'm hearing is we do not want to pay the very best fire department what they ask for. If we look at any other entity, no matter how you look at it, you're going to pay for the very best. So is this council going to be of the opinion that we don't want to pay for the very best? We pay for the very best. And the second thing, I think we have to acknowledge that this previous year was a little bit different. We all experienced the pandemic. And while the majority of the people in this room, the majority of the people listening on, we were sheltering in place. But while we were at home safe, our fire department was out there working on our behalf. I think that needs to be considered. And even when we came out of shelter in place, the county had the responsibility of distributing vaccines. When that failed, when they came up short, our fire department answered the call. And then I think the last thing that kind of solidified my position today was comments by Attorney Wade. Attorney Wade said that nothing we vote on today will be bound the next council. So essentially what I'm hearing today is we could vote for a 3% increase. And if this council or the next council decides that that's not in the best interest of the city, that council can decide to do something else. So for me, I don't think it's a very tough decision, Councilman Morgan. I think it's a decision that we should make. We have to reward the folks who have been out in the community fighting on our behalf. We have to reward LeBron James. We have to award the very best. And if we do anything else other than that, I think we're doing a disservice to our community. Because I go back again to the job of government, to promote the general welfare. And when we talk about promoting the general welfare, it absolutely and it's necessary that it flows to public safety. So for me, I will be voting in favor of the union because this body can reconsider it next year. So we're giving them a 3% raise, saying thank you for your service, thank you for being on the front lines, thank you for being our LeBron James. Nothing further, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Smiley. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Warren, and then we'll go back to Councilman Jones and Councilman Carlisle.
Thank you very much. Councilman Warren, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just had some questions. I know that some of our other unions are getting a 9% bonus this year and next year, and I was wondering if administration could describe any bonus that would be going to the fire department with or without passing this particular resolution.
Yeah, so we have made an agreement with the associations to provide what we call a 999 bonus. So they'll receive a 9% bonus this year, split into two payments, 4.5% in June, 4.5% in November, 9% next year, 4.5% in June, 4.5% in November, and then 9% in 2023. And then we also are providing a $5,000 bonus for all other full-time employees this year, and $2,500 in June, $2,500 in November.
Was that particular arrangement offered to the firefighters union, and is it still going there no matter what happens with this vote? So the firefighters are getting 9% both years. And what we're arguing about now is 1 extra percent over a 2% raise. Is that what, am I understanding that correctly? So, I mean, I think we love you if we're giving you 9% twice, and I know we haven't. I understand Councilman Smiley's thought process very well, and that, you know, we can vote on this again if we need to next year. It just seems like we've got other people. I know the fire department did a great job, but, you know, we had our sanitation workers who were getting sick on the job, and we had our policemen who were getting sick on the job. You know, we have our healthcare workers out there who aren't our city employees that were out on the job, and they got sick too. But they signed up for it, like our fire department signed up for it. So in my mind, it doesn't seem quite right not to give those other people the same 3% raise. If we're talking about 1% here, it's almost like we're talking about how do we negotiate a longer term contract in the future. It seems like that's the frustration that I think people are feeling. And I know that we've got our debt cliff coming, where we're going to be having monies that will be available to us, as Chief Ford has talked to us about. I'm wondering, as we negotiate next year, can we look to that debt cliff as far as how we potentially negotiate long-term contracts with our employees? Because I think that would give them that sense of security that they have, and would give us a sense of financial security that we'd be able to do something along that line. That being said, I don't want to hear from my fellow council members before I decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Warren. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Jones.
Thank you very much. Councilman Jones, you're recognized.
Thank you. For those who may have more institutional history and knowledge than I do, Mr. Wade, has the city ever had any multi-year contracts with its bargaining units?
I believe we have.
Okay. So with that being said, everything is always dependent upon funding by the respective councils. So those things, in my opinion, can coexist. We can have a multi-year contract, but the council each year would have to approve the funding for those contracts. Is my line of thinking correct with this?
And let me point out one other thing.
Yes, I don't know if your mic is your mic on?
Yes.
With all of these, I can hardly hear. Yeah, okay. No, as long as everybody else can hear you, I'm satisfied.
Remember, you still have the funding question for this year. You have to add 1.2 to meet the need of IAFF on third reading if you approve their proposal. So you're right, it's always subject to funding. And a lot of times when you make these decisions, you don't have the full picture of the budget when you make these decisions. So when third reading comes, you got to figure out whether you're going to have 1.2. And if you don't, then it's irrelevant whether you approve it today because you won't have funded it. So right. That answers your question. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it does. But hearing some of the remarks here, this is reminiscent of every time you hear something. Well, we're going to extend to you our thoughts and prayers, but you don't want to provide any support, and people can't take their thoughts and prayers home and pay their utility bills. And so I know that we can't. I know that we can't bind future councils by any decision, but the fact that we can have multi-year contracts showing a commitment. Now and the council, the current council, as well as any future council, would have to fund and appropriate that. But I would like to offer, and to me, this is not just about fire. It's not about police. This is about all of our employees extending more than just our thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman Jones. Chief Smith, would you like to respond to that?
I would just like to make a quick comment. So In 2017, we had a 4-year agreement, so we did have a multi-year contract. But the important component there is that it had wage openers every year. So essentially what was kept frozen, if you will, was the non-economic items. That language stayed locked for 4 years, and we only discussed wages each year, which as a council, your purview is on the economic items, and you're the arbiter for economic items. So that was the important component there. You were not discussing, there was no multi-year wage increase that was built in. We had wage openers every year. I also want to clarify a point Mr. Malone brought up in terms of the 999 deal. So the 9% bonus for this year, next year, and the year after, there is a retention agreement requirement for next year. So in order for them to get the 9% for next year and the year after, they will have to sign a retention agreement next year. And it will be codified in the MOU.
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Carlisle and Councilman Smiley. And then if we could wrap this up, colleagues, please.
Thank you very much. Councilman Carlisle, you're recognized.
Thank you. And Chief Smith, thank you for pointing that out, both of those issues, because having the information is important. I'll make one comment on my guys, LeBron James. You're right. You got to pay the best players, but the best players on the best teams are usually willing to sacrifice a little bit for the team on the economic incentives, like Tom Brady or Breeze restructuring the back ends of their contract and the length of their contract. And so that's the issue here is I'm okay with an increase in wage, but what I'm not willing to do is say, well, we can go ahead and tell the fire department it's 3% next year and open the year after that, and then say up here as an excuse, like, but we don't really have to commit to that. I think that's the worst thing we can do. Either we're going to commit today as best case scenario that for 3% so that these men and women know that that's something they can look forward to, or we do the right thing and say, hey, look, we're uncomfortable with giving you guys 3% next year because we don't know what it's going to look like, but we're committed to taking a good hard look at it, but we just can't commit to that. We'd rather have a 3-year agreement and a wage opener starting next year. So that's my big concern is sending a message that we're committing to something that we're not fully committed to. On the thoughts and prayers, I don't think anybody's saying let's send thoughts and prayers. I think everybody up here is saying we want to give a wage increase. Is it 2%, 3%? Is it 2% plus an additional bonus? And is it 2% or is it 3%? And let's go ahead and agree this year that we want to go for 3% next year. For me, I'm just very, very concerned and cannot support sending a false message to firefighters that we're going to give them 3% next year and we don't really know that we're going to do that. And that's a concern for me. So for those reasons, I have to vote the motion down. But again, we have budget wrap up. I hope we can come together and figure out whether it's 2% or 3%, or maybe it's 2% with a sweetener utilizing a little bit more of the ARP funds, whatever that may look like. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. But I don't think anybody on this body is sending a thoughts and prayers message or that we don't care about our firefighters. We have a fiduciary obligation to our taxpayers as much as providing city services as taking care of the pocketbook. With that, I yield back, Chair.
Thank you, Councilman Carlisle. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilman Smiley.
Councilman Smiley, recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate your comments, Councilman Carlisle. I will say this, just because I like to talk about basketball and also talk about the very best that the city has to offer, which is the Memphis Fire Department. Currently, LeBron James has a multi-year deal. The reason LeBron James has a multi-year deal that's paying him a lot of money is because the Lakers organization understands the value of having LeBron James. I think what the city has to do is understand the value of having one of the best, if not the very best, fire department in our country. So we have a responsibility here, and I want to address your other comment too, Councilman Carlisle. We talked about, I think, giving, you spoke something along the lines of giving, basically being disingenuous by saying we're going to vote for this, but I'm not sure if we're really going to fund it. I do think if we vote in favor of the resolution approving the union's budget today, it's not being disingenuous. It's saying, as of today, We want to be clear that this council understands how the fire department has contributed to the city of Memphis. We recognizing that they deserve a 3% today. As for the next year, as for the following year, what we're saying is, if the funding is there, we want to duplicate that increase. But right now, I think it's apparent. The fire department deserves an increase. I think if you've heard the comments from the rest of the council members, it's clear. We believe that the fire department deserves an increase. They showed up for us at the beginning of the pandemic. They showed up for us in the middle of the pandemic. And guess what we have the responsibility to do now? We have a responsibility to show up for them now. They showed up for us at the beginning. They showed up for us in the middle. And we have a responsibility to them to show up now. And I don't necessarily know if the argument that was put forward that this body here has to find $1.2 million. I believe it is the administration's responsibility to find $1.2 million. I believe it's the administration's responsibility to set priorities. And if it's the priority, if it's this body's will to say, hey, administration, we believe your priority should be to support our LeBron James, I believe the administration would support our LeBron James. So, we all have a responsibility today, colleagues, and that responsibility is to promote for the general welfare of the city of Memphis. And it automatically flows that we have to support the fire department, public safety. With that, I yield.
Thank you, Councilman Smiley. Mr. Chairman, please recognize Councilwoman Logan.
Council Lady Logan, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chair. I want to just comment on Dr. Warren, Councilman Warren's sentiment about all of the workers have been exceptional and have gone above and beyond. And I do agree with that. And I do feel that if I could vote for every department, all of our employees to get a raise, I would. Because I think we have to set our priorities on our people and make sure, because they're our greatest commodity, our people. People do all of the work of this city. And to make sure that we have well-compensated, well-trained, and well-staffed departments and entities, I think that's our priority, to make sure that the people of the city, the needs are met and the people are taken care of. And so it just happens to be that the fire union is here. The other ones are not, for whatever reason they're not. But I don't think we should punish or look at fire departments some kind of way because they're here. And I do believe that investing in our people, investing in the people that do the work, that sacrifice, that are away from their homes, and just as you would want to get a raise, if you saw those zeros, that would be alarming for anyone. And so if there's a way that we can do that, I think it's imperative that we always invest in our people that do the work. And so I appreciate the opportunity to invest in our people when we can. And for that, I will be in favor. I agree with Councilman Smiley that I don't think saying today that this is what we want to do today has an impact on next year or is disingenuous for doing that. So I appreciate the opportunity to have well-trained, well-compensated, and well-staffed departments such as our fire department. I commend Chief Sweat for the job that she does, and she's always looking for grants and funding, and I just think they do a fine job. And I would love for us to start prioritizing all of our departments, and especially sanitation, our sanitation workers. I really want to see us do better with them. So I yield back with that, Chair, but do hope that we continue to remember that the people do all of the work in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Logan. Mr. Chairman, would you please recognize Councilman Warren again, please, sir?
Warren, you're recognized.
Yeah, I just want us to realize that we're not discussing not giving our fire department a raise. What we're discussing is giving our fire department a 3% raise or a 2% raise. And I can see arguments in both directions. But in my mind, you know, if we don't know where we're going to be with the pandemic and the growth, economically, it makes more sense to not necessarily commit ourselves long term, particularly since we're giving a 9% bonus in the next 2 years. That gives us time to come back and look at this next year. We see where we are economically, and I think we can let the administration know that we really would appreciate a multi-year deal negotiated, because it seems like that's what our unions are asking for and our workers and our employees are asking for. So I think that's where I'm coming from. I just wanted to throw that out there. We are going to give the fire department a raise this year, no matter which way we vote. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Warren. Colleagues, you've heard from both sides. You've heard from several of our colleagues on how they feel on this issue. Take what you will from either argument, but what I will say is this is what I know to be true. This is what I know to be a fact. Our firefighters and paramedics have been on the front line during COVID more so than arguably any other employee in the city. We have a Class 1 fire rating fire department. Less than 1% of fire departments across the United States receive this rating. And our fire department and paramedics make more calls than most other fire departments in the United States. I think that they deserve to be paid like a Class 1 fire department. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Please, I would ask that you please call for a vote on this item.
Thank you very much, Councilman Canale. It was moved by Councilman Canale, seconded by Council Lady Swearingen. I see no other members in the queue are seeking recognition. Val, please present our screens to vote on item 39. And to be clear, and make sure I'm clear, a yes vote is in favor of the union. A no vote, I guess, will be in favor of the city. Has everybody voted?
Sarah, yes. Carlisle, no. Thomas, yes. Ford, no. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, no. Robinson, yes. Johnson, yes.
That item passes. Madam Comptroller, please call our MLG&W fiscal consent agenda.
Item number 17, a resolution approving change number 1, contract number 1267, micro-vendor software, Thomas Consultants, Inc. Funded amount of $387,574. Item number 18 is a resolution approving change number 12, contract number
08, mobile data with ABB Enterprise Software Incorporated in the funded amount of $175,818.14. Item number 19 is a resolution approving a contract between MLGW and TVA to support industrial recruitment, development, and expansion of business and industry in the Memphis Shelby County area and payment to the Greater Memphis Chamber. The total funded amount of the contract is $80,608, of which TVA reimburses MLGW $40,304. Item number 20 is a resolution awarding a purchase order to Brighter Days and Nights, Inc. for steel pole type structure in the amount of $68,866. Item number 21 is a resolution awarding contract number 12251, aerator maintenance, to RP Services, Inc. in the funded amount of $300,000. Item number 22 is a resolution awarding contract number 12245, 2021 well abandonment to Lane Christensen Company in the funded amount of $149,920. Item number 23, a resolution awarding contract number 12246, Morton Filter Valve Replacement to Landmark Construction General Contractors, Inc., in the funded amount of $176,000. Item number 24, resolution awarding contract number 12239, Train Renewal Chiller Rebuild for the Netters Business Operations Center to Train US Inc. in the funded amount of $139,878. Item number 25 is a resolution awarding a 36-month purchase order to Universal Scaffold and Equipment for a 600-volt EPR CPE power cable in the amount of $4,221,607. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes our MLGW fiscal consent items.
Thank you very much. Council Lady Robinson, you're recognized.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
This item has already been moved in the system.
All right, it's been sent through committee and received a favorable recommendation, all that good stuff. Been moved by Council Lady Robinson, seconded by Councilman Carlisle. So you know the members in the queue. I assume you're ready to vote on the MLG&W fiscal consent agenda. Madam Comptroller, thank you for the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Corbett, yes.
That item passes. Thank you. Colleagues, quick housekeeping note. On item 6, which I believe was in consent, I just want to clarify that that has a meeting date of June 15th. Brooke, did I get that right? Outstanding. Is there any objection to that? Just make sure it's entered into the record. Okay, so we don't have to suspend the rules or revisit the question. That being done, Madam Comptroller, call item 28, please.
Item number 28 is a resolution authorizing a borrowing by the city from the Economic Development Growth Engine Industrial Development Board of the City of Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee, EDGE, requesting EDGE to issue its economic development bonds not to exceed $29 million aggregate principal amount of bonds to fund portion of the City of Memphis project and authorizing all necessary actions and otherwise providing with respect to the foregoing. This affects all council districts. This resolution is sponsored by the Finance Division.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ford, you recognized.
Thank you, Chair. Committee met, recommend approval, and I so move.
Thank you. Could you do so digitally, please? Been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Jones. Councilman Carlisle, you're in the queue. You're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just had one question on both of the items regarding Accelerate. These bonds will be issued by, and if I can't remember, Chief, I want to make sure. So the $29 million is being issued by EDGE, but who will be in control of appropriating these bonds? It will always come to the body for the appropriation, or will EDGE and the building authority appropriate those funds?
Yes, you will be in charge of appropriating. We will come to you for the appropriation of these. They will issue. They are the conduit issuer for us, but before we spend any money, we're coming to you for the appropriation.
Thank you. I yield.
All right, thank you, Councilman Carlisle. I see no other members in the queue. It was moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Jones. I assume you're ready to vote. This is item 28.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Corbett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Call item 29.
Item number 29 is a resolution authorizing a borrowing by the City of Memphis, Tennessee from the new Memphis Arena Public Building Authority of Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee, requesting the issuance of public improvement capital appreciation bonds of not to exceed $175 million aggregate principal amount of the new Memphis Arena Public Building Authority of Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee. Local Government Public Improvement Capital Appreciation Bond, Series 2021, to fund portions of the City of Memphis project and authorizing all necessary actions and otherwise providing with respect to the foregoing. This affects all council districts. This resolution is sponsored by the Finance Division.
Thank you very much, Madam Comptroller. Councilman Ford, you're recognized.
Yes, thank you. Committee met, recommend approval. I so move.
Thank you. Can you do so digitally?
I got him.
All right, it's been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Council Lady Robinson. I see no members in the queue. Assume you're ready to vote on item 29. Madam Comptroller, prepare the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Kovac, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Call item 30.
Item number 30 is an initial resolution authorizing the incurrence of indebtedness of not to exceed $175 million by the execution of a loan agreement with the new Memphis Arena Public Building Authority of Memphis and Shelby County, Tennessee. This resolution is sponsored by the Finance Division.
Thank you very much. Councilman Ford.
Committee met, recommend approval. I so move.
It's been moved by Councilman Ford, seconded by Councilman Warren. Seeing no members of the queue, I assume you're ready to vote on item 30. Madam Comptroller, prepare the screen. Warren. Doc.
Yep, Warren.
Yeah. The good-looking guy on the end.
Council members, please cast your votes. Canali, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Kovac, yes.
That item passes. Please call item 31.
Item number 31 is a resolution requesting approval of a city-owned parcel located at 29 East Mallory Avenue, parcel ID number 0500770004, Memphis, Tennessee 38109, District 6, Super District 8. This resolution is sponsored by General Services.
Thank you very much. Councilman Smiley, you recognized.
Mr. Chair, the committee may recommend approval. I so move.
Thank you very much. It's been moved by Councilman Smiley, second by Councilman Canali. Seeing no members in the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 31. Prepare the screen. Thank you.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Kovac, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Please call item 32.
Item number 32 is a resolution requesting approval of a city-owned property known as 0 East Railroad Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee 38104, parcel ID 03-0026-00016, District 5, Super District 9. This resolution is sponsored by General Services.
Thank you very much, Councilman Smiley.
Mr. Chair, committee met recommended approval, and I so move.
Thank you very much, Councilman Smiley. It's been moved by Smiley, seconded by Council Lady Robinson. I see the members of the queue. Assume you're ready to vote on item 32. Please prepare the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Covett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Please call item 33.
Item number 33 is a resolution to transfer $70,000 from General Services CIP project number GS19104 to Parks and Neighborhoods project number PK21103, District 2, Super District 9. This resolution is sponsored by General Services.
Councilman Smiley.
Mr. Chair, the committee may recommend approval, and I so move.
Been moved by Councilman Smiley, seconded by Council Lady Logan. Seeing no members of the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 33. Madam Comptroller, prepare the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Covett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Please call item 34.
Item number 34 is a resolution requesting to transfer ownership of the Memphis Zoo Tram to the Memphis Zoological Society, Council District 5, Super District 9. This resolution is sponsored by the Parks and Neighborhood Division.
Thank you very much, Council Lady Logan.
Thank you, Chair. The committee met and recommended approval, and I so move.
Can you do so digitally?
Oh, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's been moved by Council Lady Logan, seconded by Councilman Carlisle. Seeing no members of the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 34. Madam Comptroller, prepare the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Covett, yes.
Thank you very much. Please, that item passes. Please call item 35. Please note Council Lady Robinson is a yes.
Robinson is a yes. Item number 35 is a resolution approving amendment and extension of contract number 28278 between the City of Memphis through its Division of Parks and Neighborhoods and Goodwill Homes Community Services, Inc., to manage and operate Goodwill Homes Senior Center Facility, Council District 6, Super District 8. This resolution is sponsored by Parks and Neighborhoods Division.
Council Lady Logan.
Thank you, Chair. The committee met recommended approval, and I so move.
Been moved by Council Lady Logan. Thank you. Been moved by Council Lady Logan, seconded by Councilman Carlisle. Seeing no members of the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 35. Please prepare the screen.
Canali, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Covett, yes.
Thank you. That item passes. Please call item 36.
Approving the agreement between the City of Memphis through its Division of Parks and Neighborhoods and Save One Foundation, doing business as Memphis Little League, to manage and operate Will Carruthers Baseball Complex, District 6, Super District 8. This resolution is sponsored by the Parks and Neighborhoods Division.
Council Lady Logan.
Thank you, Chair. The committee met, recommended approval, and I so move.
Been moved by Council Lady Logan, second by Councilman Jones. Seeing no members of the queue, assume your vote ready to vote on item 36. Screens are ready.
Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you very much. That item passes. Please call item 37.
Item number 37 is a resolution appropriating construction funds in the amount of $4,534,304 to rehabilitate electrical equipment at the MC Styles WWTF project, number SW04009, District 7, Super District 9. This resolution is sponsored by the Public Works Division.
Thank you very much. Councilman Smiley, you're recognized.
Mr. Chair, committee may recommend approval, and I so move.
Could you move it digitally, please?
Thank you.
All right. We're getting the hang of it. We're good. Thank you very much. Been moved by Smiley, seconded by Councilman Carlisle. Seeing no members of the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 37. Madam Control screens. Thank you.
Council members, please cast your vote. Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you very much. That item passes. Please call item 38.
Item number 38 is a resolution transferring from Old Melrose Site Rehab, PW 04117, to the Historic Melrose Rehab, CD 01102, and appropriate funds in the amount of $500,000. CIP project number CD 01102, District 4, Super District 8. This resolution is sponsored by the Public Works Division.
Thank you very much. Councilman Smiley.
Mr. Chair, the committee met, recommend approval, and I have already moved electronically.
Outstanding. Quick play there. Thank you very much. Moved by Smiley, seconded by Council Lady Johnson. Seeing no members of the queue, assume you're ready to vote on item 38. Madam Comptroller, prepare the screen. Thank you.
Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
That item passes. Thank you. Staff, double check me. I think that got us through all our items today. I got nods. Very good. Madam Vice Chairman, have you reviewed our same night minutes?
I have indeed. Items are 9, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 40, 41, 42, and 43, and I so move.
All right, could you do so digitally? All right, the same night minutes has been moved by Vice Chair Lady Swearingen, seconded by Councilman Carlisle. Seeing no members in the queue, assume you're ready to vote on same night minutes.
Canale, yes. Carlisle, yes. Easter Thomas, yes. Ford, yes. Johnson, yes. Jones, yes. Logan, yes. Morgan, yes. Robinson, yes. Smiley, yes. Swearingen, yes. Warren, yes. Chairman Colvett, yes.
Thank you. Same night minutes are approved. Councilman Warren, would you hand that back? I'm sorry, staff, I was flying so fast. The resolution transferring and allocating $65,000 from FY21 fire station improvement, we did cover that case here at council, did we not? Or is that for, we hear it in committee and we're here at full council in 2 weeks? I did not see it on the agenda, but is that one we heard in committee today? So that means we're here in 2 weeks in full council? Okay, 2 weeks. Okay. Making sure I hadn't lost my mind. All right, we're now to that fun part. That part I know everybody looks forward to, especially Councilman Carlisle. It's the letters to the council. Vice Chair Lady Swearingen, you are recognized.
We have 3 or 4 submitted regarding the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and 1 that was submitted as it relates to illegal dumping. The first one, I have a name for it. May 17, 2021, Memphis City Council, 125 North Main Street, room. This letter is in support of the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Dear council members, on behalf of the Habitat for Humanity of Greater Memphis, we respectfully ask that you retain $880,000 in funding for the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund included in Mayor Strickland's proposed budget. In Memphis, there's a deficit over 30,000 quality affordable housing units and thousands of seniors in need of home modification and repairs to enable them to age with grace and dignity in their own homes. However, there are not enough federal or state dollars to address the need. The Memphis Affordable Housing Trust, established in 2019, fills that gap in needed funding and investment. Investing in the housing trust not only reduces the gap, but reduces blight and increases and stabilizes property values, promotes local home ownership, create jobs improvements, neighborhoods, and very importantly, allow seniors to age safely and with dignity in their own homes. Habitat for Humanity of Greater Memphis places a significant emphasis on investing in the health and well-being of seniors in our city through our Aging in Place program. You may have heard of our curb cut effect. Providing curb cuts for wheelchairs is also beneficial to individuals pushing strollers and others with mobility issues. The same idea applies to the home repairs and retrofits for older adults, and keeping an older adult in their home helps them remain independent, maintain pride in their home, and remain a part of the community, as most of our clients have lived in their homes for over 30 years. The safety and health benefits extended beyond the older adults themselves. It also helps others who live in their homes, as leaking roofs and plumbing issues can cause many problems such as insect and rodent infestations and mold. These problems in the home make everyone sick. Keeping the home viable for a senior helps prevent vacancy or contributing to neighborhood blight. We urge you to fund the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund at the $880,000 the mayor has proposed, and to fund it annually and permanently at a minimum of 2/3 of a penny of the city's debt. The services, and this is for fiscal year 2022. This funding will be starting and will bringing us to the line of peer cities such as Louisville, Kentucky, St. Louis, Missouri, who provide funding in their housing trust in excess of $9 million and $9 million respectively. They have been the return of the investments in the cities and the robust housing trust fund can make in their communities. By funding the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund in 2022 and permanent annually subsequently these years, Memphis can also see and reap the benefits of how a robust fund trust can improve communities and the lives of residents who call those communities home. Thank you in advance for your consideration and request for the funding of the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund. I am always available to you. This is from Sherry Rout, Government Relations and Advocacy from Habitat of Humanity. Support of the Memphis Housing Fund. I'm a member of a partner of organization of Building Memphis, which supports the development and healthy, vibrant, and economically sustainable neighborhoods throughout the city. I'm writing in a strong voice to support the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund. This fund will allow nonprofit developments to build quality, affordable housing units and make critical repairs needed in our community. Safe, healthy, and stable housing is fundamental in increasing prosperity and opportunities across Memphis. I urge the City Council to approve the mayor's recommendation to fully and annually fund the Memphis Affordable Housing Trust Fund in fiscal year 2022. This is by Hannah McCarty at 1663 Bird Place. As a resident of the city of Memphis, Shelby County, I'm calling on the City Council to reinvest in the Affordable Trust Fund by establishing a permanent and dedicated source of funding that will increase each fiscal year. As a former case manager, I have seen how the lack of affordable housing in Memphis impacts families and entire communities. Investing in Affordable Housing Trust Fund will support homeowners, expand quality and affordable housing, and benefit Memphians for years to come. This is from Hannah McCarthy. This is one regarding illegal dumping from Patricia Rogers, 3195 Royal Knight Cove. Dear Memphis City Council members, I hope your day is going well. Here are several of my creative ideas to deter illegal dumping. I believe would generate a renewed sense of environmental stewardship and community pride in the city of Memphis. Mayor Jim Strickland has already emailed me to inform me his illegal team is reviewing my suggestions. We should require landowners to vacate lots to have fencing or concrete barriers to deter illegal dumping on their property. We should implement a City of Memphis ordinance to require construction workers to have an on-site dumpster when rehabilitating houses. Should implement an illegal dumping prevention program, which includes a hotline to involve citizen participation with a cash reward. The City of Memphis should provide dumpsters throughout the city over a weekend at prime locations for residents to dispose of waste. Landlords should require to have an on-site dumpster when evictions occur. Surveillance cameras can be planted in trees at well-known dumping sites throughout the city of Memphis. Tire companies should maintain records indicating the number of scrap tires removed and their final destination for disposal. Coordinate bi-weekly neighborhood cleanups in elected officials' districts with Clean Memphis and Memphis City Beautiful, CDCs, and neighborhood associations. Let me know your thoughts. You can contact me at 901-355-9009. Sincerely, Patricia Rogers. This concludes the comments for today, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair Lady Swearengin. Councilman Jones, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn the meeting of this evening.
Been moved by Jones, seconded by Canale. We stand adjournment. Thank you.